It's time to install a 12-volt cigarette lighter style outlet in our Embassy Dolphin. Hey, Guy here. Welcome back to Amore van. I use the CPAP machine at night, and when we travel in the van, I use a little portable CPAP machine. When we were getting ready to pick up our van, Embassy started installing these 12-volt outlets in the van. And so I thought, great, because I would like to be able to use my CPAP machine without needing the inverter at night. And so, I got a couple of things. Let me show them to you. First, I ordered this adapter for my CPAP machine. It's a 12-volt adapter that allows the machine to be powered with 12 volts using one of these cigarette lighter plugs. But of course, the outlet that Embassy installed in our van is a USB-A outlet, and so I knew I wasn't going to be able to plug the cigarette lighter plug in there. So I also bought this little USB-A to cigarette lighter adapter. So this is what that looked like when I tried it back when we first got our van. We have this adapter that has this cigarette lighter port, and then I have the cigarette lighter plug hooked up to this adapter to my CPAP machine. But if you listen, you can hear the machine now just kind of going off and on, off and on. And the reason for that is that, as it turns out, this solution's not a solution at all, because these USB-A ports don't actually, even though they're on they're supplied power on the 12-volt circuit, the USB-As do not, in fact, supply the full 12 volts. And if that weren't bad enough, this adapter has a really low amp limit on it. And so the result is that this solution, using this adapter in order to be able to hook up to this USB-A plug, simply does not provide enough watts to run my CPAP machine. So I need a different solution. So that brings us to today's project, which is to replace that existing USB outlet with this combination outlet that includes both the USB-A ports and a true 12-volt cigarette lighter port in order to allow me to use 12-volt appliances, including my CPAP, without the inverter. So first things first, I've got to remove the existing outlet. And to do that, first thing you got to do is, you can see there are these two little panels, and those panels are covering the screws. And so first thing I'm going to do is pop off those panels, just using a little screwdriver to pop them off. I'm going to have to put the camera down in a second, but basically I'm going to get in here with the screwdriver and pop those off, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I've popped those screws off, those little screw coverings off now, and you can see there's two screws, one down there and one there. And so next I'm going to remove those screws in order to be able to pull this outlet out. Okay, now that I've pulled this, taken the screws out and pulled this off the wall and pulled the wires out so I can access the connectors, there you can see what I've got. You'll notice that light is still on. Now, in an ideal world, perhaps I would shut the battery off so as to kill the electricity to this unit, but I really need the lights in here. I tried pulling the fuse for this outlet, but unfortunately it's on the same circuit as the lights, and so that didn't do me any good. But we're only talking about 12 volts and 10 amps here. If I do make a misstep and get a shock, it'll be mild. I'd rather not get it. I'm going to wear some gloves to try to reduce the chances of that. But you proceed at your own risk. If I had some other lighting set up in here, then I would kill the battery, and you're obviously free to do that. So next step, I have to disconnect these connections here that are right here. So you see this particular replacement plug that I have has both the cigarette lighter jack and 2 USB jacks, and that was my original intention, was to install it like that so I would have both at the same location. But because this end, both ends protrude out, as you'll see, in order to install it in this location, I would then have to considerably enlarge this opening in the lower cabinet here. And this is a piece of aluminum, and it can be enlarged with some tin snips. And maybe I'll do that someday if I decide I really have to have both here. But right now, I didn't want to undertake a project that involved, cutting an additional hole here. Not confident that I would do that and not make it look ugly. So, what I'm going to do instead is, for now, I'm going to remove this side of the plug so that it will lie flush, and I won't have to enlarge the opening. Okay, you can see now I've taken out that one side that I don't want to use for now, and I'm just going to set it aside because maybe someday I'll have enough ambition to make the hole bigger in order to use both sides of the plug. But for now, I'm just going to use this one. If you want to do this project yourself, obviously you can buy one of these that just has the cigarette outlet, and so you won't have to remove the other half. Or if you're more ambitious than I, you can go ahead and cut the hole and make it bigger. But I've decided to scale back my project once I saw the size of the hole here, but since I already have this unit in hand, I'm going to make it work by having taken out that one side. Now that I've done that, I just have to make the electrical connections. The one in the middle there is the positive, and this one on the outside is the ground. And so, I've got the wires coming out of the wall that were already there: red to positive, black to ground. All right, there you have it. I've made the connections to the existing wires: red to positive, black to ground. Now I just got to put this back in place and fasten it. So there you have it. I've put it back in and fastened it and put the screw covers back on to make it look neater. And I still have this opening here where I took out the other half of the outlet, so that someday, if I feel like cutting a hole there, I can put in those 2 USB connections as well. But for now, I'm happy with it as it is. And also, if I do want to use it as a USB outlet, I do have this handy dandy adapter where I can plug that right into the cigarette lighter and still have USB outlets. So I have both options, but now at night I'll be able to use my CPAP without the inverter by plugging it in there. And at other times, we can use any other 12-volt appliance that we may get in the future, and plug it right in there, and avoid the inverter. So that's great. So the only thing left now to do is to test it and make sure that it works. Okay, it's plugged in. Moment of truth. It's lit up. Let me turn it on. There we go. It's on, and unlike before, it is staying on. Mission accomplished. Now, if you're buying an Embassy and your van isn't finished with production yet, you don't have to go through all this. Just ask Terry at Embassy to install a cigarette lighter outlet in that location or any other location that you want, and he will. But if, like me, you already have your van and it did not come with a cigarette lighter outlet, and you want to be able to run 12-volt appliances that have a cigarette lighter plug on them, then you can make the replacement just as I just did. As always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing to our channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time here on Amore Van.
We hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you next time here at Amore Van.